What's going on, guys? Luke here from Mr. FBA UK. Right, sorry I haven't been doing a video lately. I've been absolutely bombarded with so much work. It's got to the point where I need to start pumping more videos. So today we are going to go over debt, leveraging debt, credit, finance, the whole sort of potential backbone for funding an Amazon online arbitrage business. So I just want to say this is not financial advice, of course. This is just my perception of how I view debt or view finance. I used to work in finance before I did this, so I sort of have a maybe unique outlook compared to a lot of people, because I find a lot of people, basically debt is a way to keep people in fear. If they have debt, they don't feel themselves, in the sense that they can't, their mind isn't at ease. But I see it completely differently. You don't want to have something that's holding you back or affecting you negatively in life, really, because it's not going to help. At the end of the day, the more negative you are, the less you probably achieve, and the less you're likely to fulfill what you want. So this is just going to be how I view it, and I'll go from there. So to start with, a little overview. Limited company is what I have, and at the beginning it's very difficult to get credit because you have no credit history. So if you're self-employed and you're sole trader, this sort of route that I'm going to explain today through what I've done maybe isn't quite the same as it would be, because with the sole trader you've got your own credit history that will come back up any loans or interest. So the interest that you would pay will be different to if you have a limited company, because obviously the limited company is a separate entity which acts as if it's its own person almost. So if you've got no credit history on that entity, which is obviously the limited company, then it's a little bit more harder. But the only good thing that you got protection from any debt. So if you had a £20,000 loan that you took out through the company, not through yourself, and it's under the actual business name, if anything happens to the business and you have to liquidate the company, then that debt is not liable to you, and you could basically just, it's almost like it never happened. Yes, there are implications after, like you'd have to declare if you've ever been banned, if you've ever been a director of a liquidated company, but that was just roughly explaining the benefits of having debt through a limited company over having it through a sole trader. Because if you're a sole trader and you end up getting to a point where you're doing hundreds of thousands of pounds on Amazon, you want to be careful, because the more that you are doing in sales, you're probably leveraging the debt to get you to that position. So the higher debt you have, if you're a sole trader, it's against you. So if your Amazon business completely collapses overnight and something happens to your account, I don't know, you hear it all the time, then that debt is yours. You might lose your house, you might lose whatever, you have to sell everything, all your savings are gone, because you're going to have to pay that debt back, but you're not able to make it to receive any income to pay that back. So it has to come from separate means, which might be savings, family, friends, whatever. And that is the point where all these modern businesses would never get to the point where they are now as a sole trader. Because imagine that initial guy, Mr. HSBC, taking on a £5 million debt. Is he really going to take off? Is he going to be that confident taking a £5 million debt? But if it's through a limited company, he's got more confidence, and that's how you spell on economic growth and sort of thrive business within a country, and through the world. So anyway, enough of that. Let's get into it. So I funded it myself to start with, but then I looked for other means, and I came across Capital on Tap. Now this is like a business sort of credit card, and it's literally just capitalontap.com. Just like all websites, it will provide you lots of information, fees, just like any other credit cards. But the good thing about this one is it's a cashback card. So it says you can get up to £25,000, but usually I think I started off on like £1,000, £1,200. I'm now at like 2,900. So within a year, it's gone from 1,200 to 3,000, something like that. And as long as you have a good credit with it over the months, they increase your credit rating. So they increase your reduce your interest. That's it. Increase your sort of limit. So for the first year, it's free to sign up. There's no monthly fees, like you would maybe have some. You get cash back is ultimately what it is, and it's really, really simple and easy. It's all online. Funds are like instant if you want money and that sort of thing. So it's really interesting because I get about £55–60 a month free cash back, which I then put against the balance. Now with this website, I would say be careful because the interest is high. So the reason you get cash back on it and pay no fees if you pay the balance off monthly. So I pay the full balance every month off, which incurs zero any fees, zero interest, zero fees. I just pay what I spend, and I also then get about £60 that I then put against the balance on next month. So I basically just get a free £60. But you have to make sure that you pay it off every month because the fees on this are quite high interest wise. It does say that they vary, but I'm saying as a beginner or as someone creating a fresh account, you're probably going to have the higher fees over the lighter fees. So you can go here and see how much does it cost from 0.79 to 4.9. I find if you're going to use this, only use it to basically only use it if you're going to pay off every month and you're confident that you pay it off every month. One time I actually didn't pay it off by about £200, so I paid off like £2,500, but I didn't have 200 because it was around Christmas and I wanted to use as much as I could to buy stock. So I was like, okay, I'll pay most of it off and I'll just pay interest on the £200. But the way they work is even if you're £1 short of paying the full balance off, you've got to pay interest on the whole sum. So you have to pay interest on like £2,500 even if you're only £1 short. So as soon as I realised that, I'm like, right, always make sure every month I pay it off. And I covered it with my I think I've had to pay £170, but I learnt my lesson and I've made more than that from the cash back over the year anyway. I've probably made £600, £500 from it. And then after your first year, it's £120 a year for the card. But as long as I don't, as long as I pay it off every month, I'll probably make £450 or something. So yeah, so that was the first one I went to, just because it was a credit card. And the great thing about that, because it's a credit card, 30 days, for example, I can keep the money that I was spending from my bank account in the bank account, use this card, and then I've almost got a little buffer. So where I was spending all my money from my HSBC business account, and obviously that was going from, maybe I might have £5,000, goes to £2,000, goes to £1,000, up and down, but always probably quite low because you obviously want to buy stock, so you don't want to keep loads of money in there. But obviously it gets a bit scary sometimes when you only have I think today I've only got like £100 because I keep spending so much on stock that I keep running out just every day. And I got used to it now. I've been doing it for the last 6 months. I'm having no money in the account because I literally am finding so much to buy, so much stock that I'm running out. I mean, I prepped all my carts last night, spent it all, and I had to cut back because I didn't have enough money because the amount that I got wasn't, at the moment it's really crazy with what I'm buying and what I'm finding. It's a bit scary, but if you've got that buffer from the credit card, you're actually, instead of using that money that you're getting from your disbursements, you can use the credit card, build up the funds in the bank account, which also makes your HSBC business account, for example, look really healthy, which helps them helps the company see that for me, if you've got more money in your account, it just looks like you can be trusted more. And I don't know the way that they decide on things, but I just see that it looks better if I've got money in there and it's not always at like really low values, because if you can see it's always going down to within £100, it's almost a risk, isn't it, that you could go beyond your overdraft or beyond anything. So if you've got a little bit of a buffer, there feels safer, because it's a business account as well. It's not personal. So the same thing, you know, anything happens, it's not liable to me. So it's a little bit more risky for them, because they already know it's a limited company because I set it up that way. So yeah, I found that was really nice, and it gave me a little 30 days extra buffer, and then I just pay it off from the accumulated balance in my HSBC account over the month. That I then pay that off. So it's sort of like just juggling, really. You end up just juggling. So yeah, so that was one I think I had at the earliest. So that was, but I had no overdraft to my business account because HSBC hadn't yet given me one, and this was the first thing I did to get a little extra credit. So yeah, and it wasn't huge, so you know, it was enough. And then what happened is, actually after about 8 months, I was given £3,000 overdraft at HSBC, which was great, because the interest, if I have maxed out £3,000 every month, I think I pay £10 in total. That's it, £10. I mean, you know, £10, what's that going to get you? A loaf of bread, some prawns, I don't know, some chorizo or something, bit of chicken. So yeah, it's so, you know, for £3,000, and knowing it's secured against the limited company, not my personal accounts, that sort of thing, it adds to the value. And yeah, so that was basically, this came first, capital on top, HSBC for 3,000, and we're still 3,000. I'm not too worried about that right now. I'll probably look when it's the year anniversary. They review your overdraft and stuff like that, and I'll probably look to get a bit more. But at the moment, I'm not too worried. So we'll go on to the next thing. So it came to Christmas, or near Christmas, and I was watching lots of videos on Q4 and how to optimize Q4, because last year was my first Q4. I wasn't really sure how to tackle it. I just knew that I'd seen it, pretty much, as long as you know what you're doing, try to get as much finance as you can without being ridiculously stupid, of course, and it should pay off. So my tactic was to see what I could get, you know, pump as much money in and out as I could over Q4, and then pay everything off in January, beginning of January, when all my money would have cleared and that sort of thing. Because over Christmas I didn't actually buy any stock really, so I was just accumulating for a couple of weeks in my bank account. And at the end of that, I was just going to pay off any loans that were high interest, because again, where I've got a limited company, I still hadn't submitted my year-end accounts, because what happens with businesses and limited companies is that you have to submit and pay, submit your documents, HMRC, and pay any corporation tax 9 months after the year. So if you think you do a year trading, that's when your year has to be obviously accounted for. So you have to do the books for that you've just done, but you have 9 months to actually do it. So it's almost a 1.5 year delay from, say, like the beginning of the first year, so they actually see what you've done for a while, and so all of your history is only almost internal. No one else knows about it. You know what is going on, but the banks and that wouldn't ever be able to have access to these details, because they don't exist yet on the system. So it takes a little bit of time in a limited company to actually get the better sort of finance deals, which is fine if you're looking for the long term. But this shouldn't be a year thing. It should be at least 3 to 5 plus, because it's like saying start a business, but within 3 years I'm going to have to get another job. It's sort of just like, it doesn't really make sense. So it's more of a long term thing. So then I found iWalker. This is an online modern loan company, I guess they can call it. What they do is you give them access to your Amazon account, literally just remote, almost like a remote access or impartial, so it's a little bit of access or whatever. They go through your account and then they offer you whatever they feel you're safe to loan. Now I think I started off with £1,000 to test. So I think I maybe last sort of like August I just took £1,000 to see how it worked, because the interest is quite high on this, but on £1,000 it wasn't too bad. I thought I'd just take it, and then I will see how easy it is to use, how, if I have problems, are they quick to help, and that sort of thing. It's just to learn. I was willing to pay I think it was £100, something. I can't remember what I paid, just to do it. And it's really good because they actually integrate it with your Amazon account. It's like a slidey thing. So if you go like here, yeah, they got this little slidey thing, so you can sort of see if you wanted to borrow. Well, let's not say 15. Let's just say you wanted to borrow £5,000 for 12 months. Let's just say that. Now this is where it gets a little bit sticky. So you can see to buy £5,000, if you didn't do anything else, you're paying this much interest, which is a lot. This is where you've got to be careful with this. Again, if you're a sole trader, you can just bypass this, and you would get a really good credit rating. But again, it's liable to you. So if something happens to your Amazon business, you've got to somehow find £5,000. So yes, you might have great interest. So it might be like, I don't know, £12 a month or £50 a month or whatever. But if something happens to your Amazon account here, you've still got to pay back this every month personally. If you kind of see what I'm saying. What I used to do with iWalker here is I would actually try I wouldn't pay back in 12. So I've actually taken it out twice, and I've not paid in 12. I think I paid within 1 and 5 or 4. And if you pay it back in 4, that £5,000 actually you only costs this much, and that's still a reasonable amount, but compared to what I showed you, it's a lot different. But I think they start you off on a 12-month plan, and you just pay it back as and when. There's no early repayment charges. So as you want to, you can pay it back early. You can see the split between your interest and what you've paid against balance and all that sort of thing. It's really easy. They got good customer service. It literally looks like this. You just click, I want to withdraw, and you slide how much you want, and it's really, really interactive and easy. But the problem with this is it is quite high interest. So I would suggest if you're ever going to do this for, say, Q4, which is why I tried to get as much as I can for Q4, and then pay it off in January. I might not necessarily do it, depending on what I have available to me at the time. But for a quick couple of months worth of sort of cash flow, it's not too bad. It's worth having a look and just playing around with it, and maybe just starting little and see. But for me, I'd only use iWalker in Q4. For Q4, because the interest actually, even if it was at full interest, even if you're doing that, you're probably going to make on £5,000 more over 3 months. You're probably making at least £333 or 360 quid. So if you put £5,000 in October, and you can get that in and out every 2 weeks, you can get this £5,000 in and out 6 times in Q4. And if you're making, 30%, 20%, whatever, 40%, it will cover you. It will at least pay for the interests and more. And then as long as you pay it, as long as you're sensible and pay it back and don't think, oh, I've got loads of money in my account, let's go on holiday. Yeah, you can sort of do well. So I just left my account to tick over for 2 weeks. I don't know what I had on my first year, but I think I did like £75,000 in sales, or £80,000 in sales in Q4. So October, November, and December last year. So my first Q4, and I pretty much started a year before that. And plus, whatever else I had sort of lying around, that sort of helped me out. But a great thing is that I found is what you want to try to get. This is what you really want to try to get. Is you want to try to get an Amazon loan. Now you can't just apply for it. It has to be given to you, which is the slightly annoying thing, because you've got to wait. Sorry about that. And I found after 1 year, I was offered £1,000, which was for 3 months. And then once I paid that off, I was offered another one. Actually, I think after 2 months, you can refinance. So, then offered 4.5. I think I paid back out of this. It pays off the remainder of this loan, and then you get the difference. And it's paid through a normal disbursement, and your money's held every month. instead of available balance, it just holds whatever's owed. But what I found is that I was over £15,000 a month in sales. I remember that, and it was a year, pretty much a year to the day that I got offered that 1,000. But since I paid off this one, the 4,500, I haven't been offered another one. Now I think the reason is that I was very heavy in toys and games and all that through Q4 and all that. So I literally went from, I think in December I did £30,000 sales. In January I literally did £3,000 in sales. It's basically might as well. I might as well just take a holiday. Might as well just go on to sleep for a month or something, because that's not really going to do anything, is it? Because I looked at it, I had like 90% that I was selling in toys and games, and as soon as January comes, just non-existent. And I am ungated and everything. And this year I've changed, and I'm actually selling now like 8% in toys and games at the moment. Obviously that will go up at Christmas, but I'm preparing myself this year for next year, where it was basically last year I just accepted it as a good learning curve, figuring out everything, so that you almost like it's second nature for everything you're interested in and what you need to do. You don't even have to think about it. Literally just wake up, click a few buttons, and you spent £3,000 on purchases, like with one eye open. You know exactly how the financing works. You know how you know what to look for. You know how to record. It's just basically just learn. I set myself £25,000 in 1 month over Q4, and I got 30 in December, so that was fun. Can't really complain. Yes, I had a bit of a crap beginning of this year, but hey ho, whatever. But now I'm back at around like the £20,000 a month mark, and I still haven't been offered a new one. So I'm at about 20 grand, 15 to 20 grand, depending on how you look at it at the moment. And I think probably give it before Christmas, I'll get something else. But I found that it's not every time. So you've got to keep up the consistent sales, otherwise they will. I think it's all systemized, so no one actually decides. It's just a computer. My stock is high, so it's not like I haven't got any stock to secure against the loan. It's even higher than it was at Q4. So yeah, I'm not sure about that for heart. But what the great thing about this is that if we drill in, I can actually show you at £4,500 loan. This is what it looks like. Shows you this details here. I actually realised that I spent the interest on this loan. So the interest on £4,500 for 3 months was £101.35p. So each month I was paying £33.78 for this much. Now, considering what I've just told you, on here, it's for 3 months. Let's just do the same thing. 3 months. Wow. Yeah, let's see if we can do it here. So look at the interest we're talking here. For the same period, the same amount, the interest is 300 quid. I paid £101. Yeah, and you can pay this back early as well. So just showing you that it's you can see what I mean. And the great thing about this is it's all secured against your Amazon stock. Now, if you think about it, any loan, if anything happens to your Amazon account, you can't really do much with the stock. Yes, it has monetary value, but the stock is stock. I can't pay my rent. I can't pay my mortgage with, some Furbies. Yeah, you can't really do anything like that. So even though it's got value, it's not really worth anything to you if something happens to your account and you're unable to sell your stock. The great thing about the lending is that it's secure against your stock. As if anything does happen, they keep your stock, and you almost then your stock becomes more valuable to you, because if whatever happens to your account, you don't have to record all of that stock almost and sell it to pay off whatever you've got to pay off and that sort of thing. So it might not be 100%. I haven't how the T's and C's are these days, about 4,000 pages. But from what I've read, the gist of it is that how it works. And you can't drop below 10% of your last 300. So whatever your last yearly sales have been each month, you can't drop below 10% of 1 month. But let's say you did £5,000 in a year ago, as long as you don't drop below £500 within a year, you don't default on the loan or something. But that means you're basically not using your account or selling anything. You've just kept the money or something. Yeah. And that's literally all the sources of finance. So hopefully by Q4, and I've like slowly increased my sales by September, I will be offered a new one. If not, that's not the end of the world. I can find other sources. You know, there's not just one place to get it. And yeah, hopefully it gave you a little insight of the whole process, because it is scary sometimes, but if you think about it, it will either take you a long time to build up naturally, like organic growth or whatever, or you take some risks. And obviously the most successful people, many of them have been bankrupt many times, if you actually look into it. And the reason that is because you've got to scale to the sort of very successful, as you would see, as we sort of perceive it. You don't have to take debt on, but it will take you a lot longer, and you'll be, you know, a lot older, sort of thing. And then if that fails, it's going to take even longer and so on. And you got to leverage debt well. So what I did is I tried to offset whatever I input into the business. I almost want to run my business on other people's money, if you kind of get what I mean. So all the money that I put in, if I take back out, and then literally I'm using everyone else's money to make money. That's how I see it. But yeah, everyone has their own opinion, and yeah, of course it's not financial advice, because for me this might be very acceptable, but some people might have seen some of these parts, definitely the IORCA for Christmas, and be like, oh, I'm not going to do that because the interest and what if, and it's all what if, isn't it? A lot of people think what if, but the people who see past the what ifs are the people that are normally successful, and if not straight away, at the end of the day. Yes, hopefully you enjoyed the video. Any comments, let me know. I know it's a little bit confusing, I might rush through things, but I don't really want to keep going on making it longer than it should be. So yeah, hopefully it's great, or it's some help anyway. Yeah, comment if you want any help, smash your thumbs up, subscribe, you know the usual, and I'll see you on the next video.